Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for CubeWise Business Innovation Week. My name is Andrea Ludwig, and we're happy to have you with us. Joining me today is Jason Apwa, Technical Account Manager for CubeWise North America. And we also have Martin Winkler, our Consolidation Close subject matter expert, along with the Applico FP&A Director. So thank you both for joining me also. So as you guys know, this is a three-part webinar series. Yesterday, if some of you were around, we did talk about supply chain. Today, we're focusing on consolidation and close. And tomorrow it is financial forecasting. So besides that, there's a few other things going on in CubeWise this week, including a qualifier for the Team One World Championship. That is for the Europeans being held this Friday. And that all leads up to the big event in Orlando, Florida at IBM Tech Exchange, where it is the Team One World Championship. So we have people flying in and competing from all around the world to kind of crown that Team One champion. We had the North American qualifier in the US a few weeks ago, and that was pretty exciting. So it was good to kind of see that competition and some of the skills that are out there. So, as we kind of get started, there's a few things I kind of wanted to talk to you about, consolidation and close. So if you think about it, in this function of the business, there's only so much creativity that a company can get. It could be kind of the internal regulations and controls or external. So you might be kind of asking, like, so why are we talking about this? And part of the reason is because we still find that people are spending too much time on closing their books. And especially in the space that we are in, we work with a lot of finance folks. And there are times when, we're trying to schedule meetings or demos or other things, and I'll talk to people and say, okay, well, I know next week's close, when can we meet? And sometimes they're giving me dates. They're like, well, actually close takes X amount of days. We can meet mid-month. So, we want to shorten and simplify that process. So Martin is going to show us a few of those tips and tricks in a little bit. Before we get to that, Jay, I wanted you to kind of kick it off with, what are some of the trends we see out there in the marketplace around, consolidation and close?
Sure. Thanks, Andrea. Again, for everybody on the call, my name is Jason Apwa, Technical Account Manager with CubeWise, based in the U.S. Northeast. It's a good question. So at a high level, there are several patterns that we see reoccurring over and over again with finance teams. A couple stand out in particular, though. So a big one would be the classic time and quality of data collection issue. So teams could spend days and days loading and reloading trial balances, journals, adjustments for multiple entities. And then by the time it's all in, maybe some of the data is already stale, or maybe it's not quite complete. And so that's, I think, one of the recurring things that I currently hear. Another big one is the inevitable changing reporting requirements that happen. This is not just with close and consolidation, but this is also with FP&A and planning. But whether it's updated or new statutory rules or even internal reporting requirements or shifting ownership structures, finance teams consistently have to keep adjusting how they report. And doing that manually, especially mid-close, is risky and it takes time. But beyond that, certain things like the manual consolidation of entries, intercompany reconciliations is another big one. Virtually every step that's manual, whether it's eliminations, equity adjustments, things like this, add risk to the process and again slow things down. But the good news is, and Martin, I'd like to bring you in, maybe you can unpack some of these from a business perspective. When you sort of centralize the data in one place and you automate some of these repetitive steps, and you sort of apply consistent controls, you can reduce a lot of that friction. And I think that's where some of the promising technology, if implemented properly, comes into play. Okay, so Martin, maybe you can unpack some of those things in more detail from a business perspective.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, welcome everybody. So my name is Martin. I'm based in Switzerland, being the Applico FP&A director, with Applico since 10 years now. And prior to that, I worked plus 10 years in different positions in the Office of Finance. I agree with the trends which you just summarized, Jason. So on top of it, what we see definitely as a request from the Office of Finance is, so there is this ongoing trend of requesting the single source of truth for all the financial and operational data. But I would say in the last 10, 20 years, common sense was to have for financial consolidation and close, for your FP&A layer, which is more the management reporting and planning layer in the organization, which covers more operational topics, that there is definitely a trend to have one centralized platform. And in this centralized platform, you have then applications for financial consolidation and close, and the FP&A model in its own to do management reporting and planning. So that is obviously reducing then from an end user point of view or from an administrator point of view, the maintenance work, because there is just one software tool which you have to maintain. This tool or this platform is then sharing similar business dimensions like chart of account, the company dimension, or other dimensions which are both used in financial consolidation and close applications and FP&A applications can be shared. And this is obviously a benefit for a lot of organizations, and this is something what a lot of organizations are looking for, to have this centralized platform.
Yeah, and Martin, let me just jump in for a second there, because even think about that. You talked about a lot of good benefits of that one platform, but even think of your end user not having to go to different applications. They're in that one dashboard to kind of go into each section that they need to, which I know Martin, you'll be showing us in a little bit. But versus, kind of logging in, logging out, going to somewhere else, like it's just that ease of use and that time savings in a way, if you think of going in and out of something several times a day.
So definitely. So that is a big benefit. So typically, the consolidation and close application stops at the granularity of legal entity and group chart of account. So then you see a deviation there, actual versus prior year or versus budget. But from a management point of view, from an FP&A point of view, you want to do a deeper dive into it. So the revenue is coming from a product, from a customer, from a distribution channel. The OPEX deviation is coming from cost center, functional area, or who name it. So, and if you have this all in one platform, so it's easy to do a drill from the consolidation and close application into the cube where all the FP&A data are sitting. And that is definitely something what is requested from a lot of companies. Yes.
Great. So, it sounds like, there's a few, obviously some benefits of doing that. And, we've talked a little bit about kind of having all those business processes in place before you kind of, start that journey down having like a true application. So, Martin, what are some of those, if you want to focus on maybe some of those business processes before we kind of then talk about the benefits of an application?
Yeah, so definitely. I think that is one of the most important points. So a lot of companies, they have ambitious targets to implement a software solution, and this will solve all their problems. But the reality is you need to have some building blocks already in shape before you start implementing such a solution, which then obviously brings you a lot of added values. And so first of all, the Office of Finance need to have a solid skill set of business understanding, so financial accounting and controlling understanding, but then also some technical skills should be in the Office of Finance, so that somebody knows how to integrate data or maintain the data then later in the application. Then the whole discussion around solid master data. So when it comes to consolidation and close, you need to have a solid group chart of account in place where all the legal entities from the group, where they have properly mapped the ERP accounts into the group chart of account. So then you need to have this in place for the three-way financial model. So it needs to cover the P&L, the balance sheet. You need to have a proper cash flow hierarchy in place where all the balance sheet and relevant P&L accounts are mapped into. So then a closing calendar, so some basics. But if you want to do a proper financial consolidation and close process, the Office of Finance need to have a proper closing calendar in place. There need to be a separation between what work will be done from the headquarter, so the group consolidator, and what work will be done also in the tool then from the legal entities, so the finance managers in the subsidiaries. So these are all very, very important building blocks where we have quite often at the beginning of a project some key discussions with the customers about, because this need to be in place first before you can really benefit from a proper solution. So I would say that is always a strong recommendation from our side.
Perfect. And Jay, I'm going to pass over to you in a second, but once we get that business process in place, and one of the things I'll say a benefit of an application is that time savings. We're going through a large project right now of a company that's doing this in offline Excel. And, just kind of the manual efforts that they put there, and then being able to have this on that application is saving them time and reducing that risk for error. So Jay, do you want to kind of add to that or expand on any additional benefits you see once you kind of have those businesses processed down, the benefits of using an application?
Sure. And so I like what Martin said basically about some of those building blocks before we even get into technology, like the people that are involved with the process and their skill sets, some of the master data requirements to make sure data is clean, and then alignment across the process to make sure that, since it's a complex process and there's multiple people involved, making sure that you're aligning to schedules and timing and things like this. But even when you've sort of decided to invest in technology and you've gotten those building blocks in place, there are some important considerations to think about when selecting that technology. So one, as an example, is data integration requirements. Most organizations have multiple ERP systems. Maybe you have an S/4HANA instance over here, you have an ECC over there, plus some other systems like maybe even files if you're dealing with an acquisition that's coming into play. So you need a solution that can connect to all of them reliably and also with speed, which brings me to my next point, which is efficiency. So it's not just about pulling data in anymore. It's about handling large volumes of data and running lots of number crunching and doing that intensive recalculations in real time. And then you also need to support collaboration across different areas within the process, right? There's allocations, there's consolidations, top-down, bottom-up adjustments, and all those things need to be done without slowing things down, right? Complexity would be the third one. So as we all say here at CubeWise, eliminating complexity is not the name of the game necessarily. It's more about managing complexity. And I think since consolidation touches multiple areas of the business, whether it be FP&A, tax, sometimes operations, consolidation teams become the hub for virtually everything. That's reconciling data, sometimes resolving conflicts, etc. And I think I referred to before to allocations and adjustments and these layers of logic that need to be accurate and traceable and fast. And then finally, I think risk reduction is a pretty big one, right? So in a closed process, you need to have that auditability and that security control. And that means really having full control of data change logging, advanced security, and other controls like simply the ability to open and close periods centrally. Basically ensuring that nothing really changes, nothing fundamental changes without it being deliberate and also logged. And so when a solution addresses these areas, you're looking at least the minimum requirement, right? Andrea, what do you think about that? And then maybe Martin, we can get into actually seeing something on screen.
Yeah, Jay, as Martin kind of brings the screen up, the thing is a lot of customers too, when they're going through close, they want that data several times a day. Maybe it's every hour. So that is something you can do with an application that is super important during close because things are changing. So that is something to me that is a huge benefit versus maybe just overnight loads, because then that can really draw out your close process. But if you can get that data every hour or even faster or on demand too, I know that's also a possibility. You can have it set every hour, but if you need to kind of hit it and get it that moment, you can. So that's another big benefit I see when you're using an application. So Martin, with that, over to you to kind of show us a few things that we've been discussing.
Sure. So let me share my screen to go a little bit real time through the benefits an application can bring to you once you have the foundation in place. So first of all, let me tackle the concept of the one platform. So you see here a landing page which covers pretty much what you need to have in a consolidation and close and in a modern FP&A planning application. So the user will have one front end they can connect to. Then you have a section in which you can do the full consolidation and close based on the flow which you have to do based on all the audit requirements. And then from there, you have the ability to jump into the more detailed FP&A application, which gives you then the ability to do more drill down analysis on operational business dimension. And I think this is something what will be covered in detail tomorrow in the third webinar, which you host, Andrea and Jay. It will be they will focus on this tomorrow. So when we talk a little bit more about today's topic, the consolidation and close. So to be honest, when we talk about consolidation and close, we have to say that it's a quite boring exercise. So there is a pretty clear rule from the auditor what kind of steps you have to fulfill to arrive to the group financial statements. So the most important part is that modern solution, the financial consolidation and close solution, is covering all these functionalities. And then obviously the biggest added value it brings to the table is that all these functionalities are centralized in a single source of truth. Plus, a lot of the tasks will be automated or can be automated so that you don't have to do all these kind of things in an Excel environment, which is very error prone and very risky. So that is the most important part which needs to be covered in such an application. So, and if we then go on.
Well, Martin, let me ask you the question though. So there, you may not have a lot of creativity in the process, but how about kind of the configuration, customization of these dashboards and input templates? Do you get a little more creativity there when you're using this application?
Yes, definitely. So there is also the benefit which you have based on a modern web front end. So everything what you see here is completely configurable. Typically, when you get a tool like this, all the standard reports, which I will show you quickly here and there, they will be delivered with the application. So they will be configured. But on top of it, you have completely freedom to define your own landing page, to define your own dashboard, to support the closing process for the whole organization. So that is completely flexible. So yeah, as an example, we see here a quick dashboard which gives a consolidator an overview about all the legal entities which are part of the group. You have a timestamp when the last data were loaded into the application. You have a quick overview about your financial statement if the balance sheet is netting to zero. You have the ability to do different drill analysis here. So you can go on the total current asset and you immediately see all the current asset breakdown by legal entity. So all these kind of functionalities are embedded then into the tool based on the data which you have loaded, and the modern web front end, how you can do slice and dice and drill analysis on the data. So that is a key functionality. So full visibility and big picture overview about the data which were loaded into the tool. So then it's quite important when you start the month or the quarter which needs to be consolidated, that you have the ability to set up the scope of consolidation, which means the way how your financial statements of all the legal entities which are part of the group are getting consolidated. So, and here you need some basic functionalities embedded into the software tool so that in the end you get the ticking box from the auditors. So first of all, you need to have the ability to show a flat list of all the legal entities which are part of the group. You need to have the ability to define the ownership structure of the legal entities. You need to have the ability to define the different consolidation methods. So on which logic all the legal entities are getting consolidated in the group. So that is something which needs to be a part of such a tool. And then also the flexibility to load the data based on different concepts. So one concept is the automatical data load, which means there is a process set up which connects to the data source. It can be an ERP system, it can be a centralized data warehouse, and then with a push of a button, the data will be loaded immediately into the consolidation tool, and they will be available in the dashboard and can be reviewed and can be analyzed. So, and then on top of it, it's quite important also to have the ability to load manual data into the tool. So being a company who has a lot of M&A activities, so it's quite time intense to connect the legal entity with an automatical data load. So a modern tool need to have the ability to also load CSV files or Excel files into the application so that the data can be easily integrated so that they can be used for the consolidation and close process.
Martin, question. So in this screen, what consolidation are these consolidation methods provided out of the box, or are there things that need to be done to add these to the functionality?
No, they are completely out of the box. So behind each consolidation method, there is a calculation logic which will be set it up. And it's a configuration during the project implementation, but the whole methods are part of the application and they don't need to be written from scratch. Yes.
Okay. And then also the idea of the multi-level consolidation across entities and regions, is that also one of the capabilities of this product?
Yes, that's also very important functionality. So we have here the concept of the group dimension and the legal entity dimension. So currently I see here a flat list of all the legal entities, but you can combine different legal entities into different subholdings. And at these stages, the full financial consolidation and close will happen. So at the end, in this example, if you have two subholdings, they will be consolidated on its own, and then the consolidated subholding will then be again consolidated at the ultimative group holding. So this concept is very important for a lot of global organizations, and it's part of a modern application. Yes.
One more question, then I'll let you continue.
Yeah,
One
sure.
more question, I'll let you continue. On the integration of acquisitions, is there coding that needs to be done, or is it more of a graphical interface that allows you to pull in data like a flat file for an acquisition?
Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. So if you acquire a new legal entity, so you can add here in the front end the legal entity code. You give all the parameters to the legal entity, those currency that the data can then be converted from local currency into reporting currency. You define the data load type, the ownership structure. So all the parameters which we have seen in the back end before. So, and then you create this legal entity, and once the legal entity is created in the company dimension, you can load data into the application. So that is a pretty straightforward integration of a new entity, which definitely streamlines and optimizes the process if a company has a lot of M&A activities.
Cool,
Yes.
thank you.
Sure. So then, as I said, the different data load types are available. So you can run the bulk data load where you just execute a process. In this case, the process is referencing to the SAP tables. But again, this can be referencing also data warehouse or whatever source system you have all your trial balance data available. And then also, and that is quite handy, for the entities who are coming new into the consolidation area. So you have here the upload concept of loading CSV files or Excel files. So you can easily select then here this upload button. You have a template available with the trial balance of the legal entity. And by pushing the button, all the data will be pushed into the single source of truth, being the database which comes with the consolidation and close solution. So that is quite important. And then I would say also from a mapping point of view, so the concept of mapping all the local ERP accounts into the group chart of account is part of the application. So that is also quite error-prone exercise if you do this out of an application in an Excel environment. So, and then this obviously comes also with warning messages. If you are not mapping an ERP account properly into the group chart of account, the legal entity is not allowed to submit the data into the consolidation area. And these are also different kind of validation checks, which you obviously can perfectly set up in such a consolidation tool instead of running risk to forget something in an Excel environment. So then intercompany reconciliation is pretty important in the consolidation tool, and a modern tool supports the different concepts: intercompany reconciliation by account or by sending and receiving entity, so that you can do this reconciliation check, and if you have differences, you can do correction bookings in the source system, or, and that is also quite important in the discussions with the auditors, a modern tool has the ability to also do adjustment bookings in the tool itself with journal IDs. So not a booking in an Excel environment without a journal ID. So it's all then audit proofed. You can do different bookings here. You post a journal, you generate a journal ID. And during the audit process with the auditors at the year end, you share then all the bookings which you have done in the consolidation tool. And then this booking list gets approved from the auditors, which obviously streamlines the process and reduces the risk of some wrong bookings or stuff like this. And then last but not least, it all comes down to the consolidated financial statements. So the tool needs to have the ability to show the sum balance of all the legal entities which are part of the consolidation area. And then, as you see here, we support then the different intercompany elimination types, loan elimination, P&L elimination, investment and equity elimination, and so on and so forth. So all these common methods which are used in a consolidation and close process, they need to be supported in such an application. And yeah, the big benefit here is it's an elimination run, which is automated running during the month end closing. And this is obviously much faster and leaner than doing this exercise in a big Excel sheet. Yeah, so that's in a nutshell what you should expect from a modern solution, and what, for example, Applico financial consolidation and close brings to the table.
Martin, thank you for that. So I know we did cover a lot in a very short time, and that was kind of the point. And if you kind of look at some of the themes that we went through, you know, looking at companies that are going through merger and acquisitions and having different group structures, kind of how we automate things to make it simpler and to kind of to shorten your close. So to kind of wrap up here, if there's any questions, please put them in the chat. As a quick reminder, this video will be recorded and posted on YouTube. And tomorrow we do have our last webinar around financial reporting. And like I said, too, you know, follow us. I think Jay, yeah, if you're interested in this, please reach out to your local office. The other thing I wanted to say too is there's a lot of events going around CubeWise, and we have an events page that you can be checking on a regular basis, whether they're in-person events, webinars, lots of different things. Like I said, the Team One World Championship is going to be in person in Orlando this fall, which is pretty exciting. So with that, let us know if you have any questions. Otherwise, have a great day and thank you for joining.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we do have a question of when would we recommend Controller to a customer? So the thing is, Controller is a separate application. So it depends on, you know, what you want to be doing. They're all decent options is what I'll say. Martin, is there anything else you would like to add to that? Controller versus Applico, you know, because there is also, you can do a custom build within Planning Analytics too. So there are a few different options and different things that maybe someone should consider if they're evaluating the different tools.
So I would definitely say, so the big benefit of using Applico CNC as a financial consolidation and close tool comes with the concept of one platform. So because in Applico you have the FP&A application and you have the consolidation and close application. So here I definitely see a big added value in having in this centralized platform both tools and both applications available. And from a functionality point of view, so everything what we have in Applico CC is fully functional and covers all the functionalities which you have in other consolidation and close tools like IBM Cognos Controller. And we have a lot of customers which moved away from Cognos Controller to Applico CNC because of executing the concept of having one platform for both applications.
Thank you, Martin.
Any other questions?
All right.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.